Well, if there are any back-channel talks or any diplomacy at play, because what really will happen as far as when it comes to this latest ceasefire plan, if it is going to be put in focus. However, what is now being said that there is this latest scoop that we are picking up on this 45-day ceasefire proposal. Iranian mediator seems to be making this last-ditch effort, this push, as far as what is now being said that they have been now discussing the certain terms and conditions. Because yes, on the war front, there has been several statements that have been made, even when it comes to certain deadlines that have and ultimatums that have been put forth. But now it seems this is a 45-day ceasefire call, a certain proposal there. What is being said that the US, Iran and a group of regional mediators are discussing the terms for a potential 45-day ceasefire. Mayank, good morning. Will it now lead to a permanent war, end to this war or a pause at least? Because what is being said, what are the back-channel talks that seems to be taking place? Are they even taking place in the first place? Because both sides have been rejecting that any direct talks have happened.
No, it is always positive. If there are hints towards some kind of a reparation or some kind of a midpoint reaching between the US and Iran primarily, because Israel had not been there when Pakistan was talking that they were preparing grounds for talks between the US and Iran. So whatever we hear is good. But having seen the past, the way that the dates and the kind of they were announced that initially to two-day ceasefire was talked about, then 5-day ultimatum was given, then 10-day ultimatum was given, and then talks, they failed. Iran backed out because it said that the kind of conditions which were made were not as per its calculations. And now again, then Doha, Turkey came in between, that they had started to at least take forward the talks. Now, and this 45 days issue, anything which brings some kind of a let-up or some kind of a peace in this area will be always welcome, because the kind of destructions which we see and the effects, they have encompassed the whole globe, which includes India also. And larger portion of our energy also comes from that side, and so does for the manufacturing nations, which includes China and also Japan and South Korea. And willy-nilly, we had also started hearing of Bab el-Mandeb also. So if that was the kind of expansion which was taking place and the effects in terms of not only destruction, because we are not overlooking destruction here. Bab el-Mandeb, had it also come into being and obstructions would have come there, it would have created major problem for the world. And the region which is already encompassed into the warfare, it's beyond that. So always welcome would be the point of midpoints wherein the sides decide of a ceasefire, or even it would be much better if the war gets over. So let us wait and watch.
Mayank, is that even a possibility? Because the kind of threats that has been coming in from both sides, because while the chances of reaching even for a partial agreement within the next 48 hours remain slim, but do you believe that this diplomatic effort that is being seen as a last opportunity to prevent a dramatic escalation that could involve massive strikes on Iranian civilian infrastructure and retaliatory attacks on energy and water facilities across the Gulf countries?
In fact, what you see is if we are quoting it as 38th day. Initially, when the war started, people were saying from the US side and Israel side had been saying that, or believing that the Iranian side would capitulate, and which did not happen. And I remember the National Intelligence Committee report, which is a wisdom of almost 18 intelligence agencies of the US.
Well, let me get a foreign affairs expert point of view on this. Mr. Rabinder Sachdev is connected with us, as Mayank also is connected with us right now. Mr. Sachdev, good morning. Do you believe that President Trump's pressure on Iran to come for a ceasefire, and now that the threats that have now escalated even to civilian infrastructure, what happens next? Do you believe that there are still chances for a possible ceasefire, sir?
I do think there are. Chances are always there. Chances have been from day one this war started. Okay, the issue is what is the probability, right? The chance is there, but the probability. So the probability, it could be, there could be a ceasefire, but it will be a half-baked ceasefire. In the sense that if it's tentative arrangement, And secondly, more complicating would be the fact that Israel and the Gulf countries will not want a ceasefire at this point of time, anything that could leave Iran, standing but wounded, because a wounded Iran will come back and pound these guys. They want a complete, elimination to the extent possible of Iranian abilities and capabilities. So they will be pushing for very harsh terms. So if the terms are going to be so harsh, will the Iranians agree? Well, they could. I mean, on uranium, the Iranians have been pretty, open about it. They've been saying that they're open for a deal. But then the other conditions which are there is the sticking point. However, if the discussion is that a tentative ceasefire for 45 days, well, Iran would want something. I can do a ceasefire, you lift the sanctions on me, or let me keep selling my oil, I'll open the Hormuz Strait. That will be extremely, not palatable to the Israelis and the GCC countries. That's what I think.
All right. Mr. Sajeev, thank you very much for joining in with your point of view. Mayank also continues to be with us because we want to head into a very short break, because what President Trump actually had said, that there is a good chance, but if Iran does not agree to the terms and conditions, well, I'm going to blow up everything over there. So really remains to be seen what really happens over there. But this seems to be one of the multiple deadlines that President Trump has now set. We're going to head into a very short break right now.